So we've heard some interesting things about the technology behind EVs. What I'd like to talk about, based on research and actual put into practice things that Mitsubishi is doing, is what we can do to try and make EVs work in America. Now here, this is the car that Mitsubishi is going to be launching here in the States fall next year. It'll be for sale. Not sure if they're going to lease it yet, but it will be for sale for sure. I can't say the price yet, but it'll be very competitively priced compared to some of the other EV vehicles that are out there. And this is the Mitsubishi i-MiEV. The MiEV part standing for Mitsubishi Innovative Electric Vehicle. Now, the i-MiEV is the ultimate eco car. 100% all-electric powered vehicle, zero emissions when driving. And Mitsubishi has really gone out of the way to make it drive, like handle and drive just like a conventional internal combustion engine car. And then a key thing with the battery system for this car also is the three-way battery charging system. And I'll get into that more in a moment. And here I wanted to show a cutaway with this car, some engineering key attributes with it. To start with, the overall size of the vehicle, it's actually, I don't know, you know those little smart cars you see running around town? The i-MiEV is only about 2 feet longer than a smart car. So it's actually very compact dimension-wise, but they've done the most to maximize the internal volume capacity. You can see here, it really does sit 4 adults comfortably, and you even have a little bit of cargo space in the back. In the handling area and the packaging area, here you can see the batteries, the electric motor. This adds a lot of the weight to the vehicle. Together, the batteries and the electric motor weigh about 600 pounds. So what Mitsubishi has done is they've packaged the batteries and the electric motor underneath the floor of the vehicle. And as you can see, the battery pack is very much close to the center of the vehicle. This helps lower that center of gravity for the vehicle, makes it handle it very well. I drove one finally last month for the first time, and I have to admit, for an little egg-looking car, it actually handles quite well. Another thing that really helps, look how far the wheels are pushed out to the absolute corners, to the extremes of the vehicle. Again, really helping with vehicle stability and handling. Here's a view of the battery pack. It's a maximum 16 kilowatt-hour pack, 88 cells. And you can see here, packaged again underneath the floor of the vehicle. And it sits within this very, very strong stainless steel cradle. And this really helps to try and protect the batteries and the occupants as much as possible in the event of a collision. Here I wanted to show some photos of the US spec vehicle being tested and tested to the extremes, as you can see, running for an extended period of time, well, as much as it could, under extreme cold, and then even running for extended periods of time in fairly deep water. Now, and these are just part of a very comprehensive vehicle test to make sure that this car, when it comes to the States, is as safe as possible for the American consumer. And here's that three-way charging system, very key attribute for the i-MiEV. This is similar to a lot of the other EV vehicles as well, but with the i-MiEV, it can be charged off a standard 110-volt outlet, and from a very low battery to a full charge, you're looking at about 12-13 hours charge time. Off of a 220-volt outlet, the bigger ones for like our washers and dryers, it cuts the time in half to about 6 to 7 hours for full charging time. But a really exciting thing, and what Mitsubishi is really pushing, is the quick charging systems that are out there. Under a quick charger, the i-MiEV can be charged from a very low battery to 80% full in less than 30 minutes. And talking to some of the engineers, they've said it's actually closer to 20 minutes for that charge. So that's a thing we're hoping that gets adapted widespread here in the States, so that this vehicle can catch on with Americans. On this slide, I just wanted to illustrate the key thing here is that in Japan, Mitsubishi for several years has sold a gasoline-powered version of the i-MiEV, and that's called Mitsubishi i. And in Japan, they have what are called K-cars, which are these mini cars that use very small engines, gasoline engines. A lot of them are actually the size of a motorcycle engine, like 600-ish cc's, and that's what the uses in Japan. So you have a very, very small gasoline engine that's actually at least 1/3 the size of your typical 4-cylinder engine here in the States. So you have a very small engine, very efficient, and produces relatively low emissions for its size. And just even though the gasoline version produces very little CO2 in comparison to a lot of the 4-cylinder cars here in America, the IMEV, when you factor in where it's overall where its electricity is coming from, IMEV sees up the CO2 emissions by 70%. So that's very significant. We're talking very, very small CO2 emissions. Now, keys to EV success in the U.S. Infrastructure. Probably from Mitsubishi's opinion. So in order to get that charging area going here in the States, Mitsubishi is recommending to all of its dealers here in the U.S., and there's more than 400 of them across the United States, they want all of them to install a quick charging system. So this would be really helpful for the person that buys it, and they're out and about in town running errands, they notice their battery's getting a little low, they can run over to their Mitsubishi dealer and plug it up to a quick charger and fill it up very quickly. In fact, if the battery is very low, even if they didn't want to spend much time at the dealership, even charging the IMEV on a quick charger for just 10 minutes will give it half a tank. So, enough capacity there to maybe run some more errands, make sure you get home, no problem. And some of the things they found that are working in Japan as far as expansion of charging infrastructure, they're installing, they're seeing charging systems, conventional and quick chargers installed at shopping centers, convenience stores, some of the typical things you'd expect, public parking lots. An interesting development, at least I find interesting, is that gas stations, believe it or not, are actually catching on and starting to install charging stations there. So don't know if that's going to have a chance of happening here in the States, but that's an interesting development. Here I wanted to show along the infrastructure side, California is doing a pretty nice job of really pushing for installing battery charging stations across the state. Each one of these represents some form of EV charging station. So as you can see, the Bay Area, San Francisco, quite densely populated with charging stations, as well as Southern California, Los Angeles, and the Orange County area. And also, with this image here, I wanted to show that this is where, in the Bay Area of San Francisco, where they're proposing to install a whole network of quick chargers. So, very convenient for the consumer in that area, and hopefully this can serve as a model for other states and cities to take a look at and maybe plan accordingly for their own areas. Key factors to popularize the charging infrastructure. Again, this is based on Mitsubishi's experience in Japan and research they're doing for the States. Number one, identify the optimum ratio of electric vehicles to the number of charging stations in a given area. Very important, as EVs catch on in certain areas, you've got to have charging stations that can supply juice for that demand. Second, standardize the charging system between chargers and vehicles very quickly. This is one of those no-brainer things that you think this is the case, but in the last few months, at Mitsubishi, we've been loaning IMEV vehicles to a lot of automotive journalists around the country to get their opinions, see what they think of the vehicle. And it's pretty remarkable how many of them have told me that, even in California, that there's variation between the charging stations. There are charging stations where they would go to have no problem with their plug fueling up, and then there's others where they go to a charging station and they'd be completely out of luck with just running with their car. So that's something that needs to be standardized very quickly. In Japan, the manufacturers, I believe, there have come to an agreement on a standard, and a lot of the European companies, automotive manufacturers that are going to be building EVs have jumped on board with that sort of standard as well. I know Citroën and Peugeot, two really big auto manufacturers in Europe, they've signed on and are in agreement with this shared standard with the Japanese. Number three, require initial support such as quick charger installation by government initiatives, incentive programs such as purchase and installation subsidies and tax refunds. providing property for locations where quick chargers can be installed, and also just alleviate some of the red tape so that charging stations can be sort of, their installation can be expedited. Number 4, new business model development for charging service, and I think you're going to hear more about that today because I saw a gentleman with ChargePoint out there, and that's one of these, I think, I hope I'm correct in saying this, but a privately run charging service that is setting up charging stations in different parts of the country. And number 5, support from the utilities, support the popularization of the charging infrastructure and development of the smart grid. These are all very key elements to getting EV vehicles to work here in the U.S. with consumers. EV launch here in the U.S. market. The last several years, Mitsubishi has been working with 2 of the biggest utility companies in California, Southern California Edison and Pacific Gas and Electric, loaning them vehicles that they've been using out in the field and getting feedback from them about the cars. Very, very few problems, fortunately. No major headaches with anything, just some little tiny teething things that were quickly engineered out. So the feedback has been very good. The car is proving to be very reliable. And just recently, Mitsubishi has signed up with Best Buy and their Geek Squad, and they're actually starting to provide some IME vehicles for some of the Geek Squad folks as they go out and about doing their thing. Also, real quick, a couple of things I'd like to mention. Mitsubishi is very much in favor of electric vehicles as a future technology. The company has been building electric vehicle cars for more than all electric vehicle cars for more than 40 years now. So they have a lot of research and knowledge in place, and they actually have partnered with some of the big battery companies in Japan, and they'll have plenty of supply in the future for lithium-ion batteries. They've made investments in the hundreds of millions of dollars building, I think, 3 factories now. So, and then, of course, another thing is for getting people interested in the EVs here in the States are, of course, the financial inducements. There's a $7,500 tax rebate at the federal level. That's fantastic. And also, numerous other states have their own incentives as well. So hopefully this will be enough to really spur EV acceptance across the United States. And overall, just kind of a general broad thing for the consumer. What these are key factors for the consumers to accept EVs. Again, can't say it enough, infrastructure. The installation of charging stations, especially quick chargers, and the development of the smart grid. Of course, again, those nice financial incentives are a good way to go. And along with those rebates and things we're seeing, the fact that you can refuel an EV at a fraction of the cost of a gasoline or diesel engine. Purchase incentives that we just mentioned, hopefully set long-term or even set in stone permanently. And another thing is the electric motor has vastly reduced moving parts and things, so going forward we should see reduced cost and just repair and serviceability. And then regulatory. We're going to see stricter fuel emission requirements in the future, so that will hopefully spur EV sales. And also the fact that the zero economy standards that the auto manufacturers have to meet for their vehicles. Higher fuel economy mandates for the auto manufacturers, that's surely, as their average MPG has to go up, that will surely spur EV sales as well as plug-in electric hybrids. And that's about it.